Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to our first official call on our review and study of the science of being well. Welcome. This will be held in our Freedom Mastery group, and we will have the link posted every meeting. We're discussing and getting it scheduled on when will be good on a regular basis, so we'll get that information to you. But for today, we're going to share with you what we have found, and I have a beautiful guest speaker here with us today, an amazing person that is going to share her perspectives and go into more detail on what she has gotten from this study and how it's really been able to open a lot of the doors for what she already knows and what she's already learned in much of her experience and knowledge and wisdom and that. Yes. So I met Kris. Let's see. Kris, this is Kris Wood, and I am going to have her go ahead and come on. And can you tell us how we met?
Sure. So Rita and I met maybe 2 years ago. She had come to a cycle class of mine I was teaching at the gym, and we just casually met, and then it was probably almost a year after that when we actually talked again, and she told me about isogenics, and I was like, yeah, sure, that's great. Thanks. And then it was probably another couple of months before we actually really connected and started talking just about all sorts of stuff, and realized how in sync we were with what our perspectives on things were. And we both have 3 kids, pretty similar in age, both 2 girls and a boy, and we've just meshed, and it's been a wonderful learning experience, learning from Rita, and a great friendship on top of it, which is really awesome. So that's kind of, I think, how our friendship outside of business really.
Awesome. Yes, indeed. Yep. I was exercising. I was really into nutrition and cleansing and my physical transformation at the time that I met you. That is very true. And since then, though, I know that I found out that you are actually a registered nurse, but not just any registered nurse, that you're very more on the holistic minded side, and that you actually are also a certified yogi, that you just have so much in your beautiful brain and body of yours that you've got to share with the world. And I'm just thankful to have met you, and that we have crossed paths and joined together on this mission to bring, more awareness and knowledge and just information to the world, to bring health, freedom. So I'm grateful that you're going through this book review and study with me. I'm so super excited because I so respect you and your, where you're at and where your knowledge base is. Not only your knowledge, but your heart set and your wisdom, piece of it. It's like you're the cake and the icing too. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you. I did spend a lot of time after completing nursing school studying nutrition and getting certified in the nutrition piece as well, and from a very holistic standpoint. Not necessarily the basic food pyramid that we're initially trained on, but in a very holistic, listen to your body sense of nutrition. And I think that's huge. That's super huge in both the physical and the mental well-being.
So on that, I'm just going to spin off of that, because actually that's been one of the biggest pieces in being part of, introducing you to people for coaching and talking to people about, what their needs are, what their desires and goals are. Most people have either a health goal or physical. I'm working with it right now. Please, I need you to go sit down over there. Help us. And I've been able to really hone in on your beliefs and your kind of inspiration to listen to your body, and that correlates so well with this study, this book, because that is a lot of what it's speaking to me. As I read through chapter 1, and some chapter 2 already. I'm like jumping ahead. I can't stay with just one chapter. But that's a lot of what I'm getting from this book, is that Wallace Wattles is basically saying, and you can let me know how you think about this, if you agree with this, that we have that ability within us to achieve and to be aware, if we can connect with that awareness of what we really need, what our bodies really need, to be healthy and well, to achieve a state of wellness. And that's just something new to me. I in my history, my previous transformation, and just all of the knowledge that I've ever had, in order to achieve wellness and health, and specifically a physical transformation, like losing weight, gaining muscle, that there has to be a bunch of numbers that you keep track of, and it has to be a really detailed and technical on a daily basis, that there's just a lot of work that you have to actually do and learn to achieve wellness and to achieve, balance, I guess, in your body. And you've really opened my eyes to the fact that that's not all true. And I've been putting it in practice, and have found that absolutely, I am, and it's a practice, but I found that the more I do it, the more that I do practice listening to my body, and you can talk to us more about how we do that. But I have found that I have been able to, stay balanced, notice when I'm either eating too much of something or too little of something, and that kind of thing. So tell us a little bit more about that, about, not necessarily following a, strict number-based diet versus listening to your body.
Yes, absolutely. So the biggest piece is the mindset. So at the very beginning, you first talked about that, and it's having your mind in the right place. So if you and I've always lived by what you think about, you bring about. I studied The Secret, maybe early 2000s, so almost 20 years ago at this point. And the principle of what you think about, you bring about. So if you set your mind to, I'm never going to lose this weight, I'm always going to be overweight, I'm always going to feel awful, then that's exactly what you're going to do. If you have a mindset of, I can make this change, I can conquer this, I feel good, I'm going to fuel my body to feel good, then that's exactly what you're going to do. And then you start to become more self-aware. And once you become more self-aware, you can really listen to your body, and your body may say, you know what, today I want to eat carrots, and I don't even like carrots, but I'm going to eat carrots today. I have the example of the other day. I was at the market, and they had beef stew, and I don't like beef. I have nothing against red meat. I just don't like beef. And I got a cup of beef stew, and it was so satisfyingly delicious. And so what nutrition piece was I missing? What did and afterwards I found out some other awesome news. So that kind of, for me, is a trigger. When I am first pregnant, I need meat and potatoes. I don't know why, but 4 times around now, meat and potatoes at the beginning of every pregnancy. So some sort of nutritional need there. And so listening to your body and saying, okay, I'm not a huge beef fan, but this stew has everything I need, and there you go. So that's sort of a random tangent in the way that you can listen to your body, but it always knows what you need. I've seen charts where it's like junk food that you crave actually relates to nutritional deficiencies, like chocolate. They have correlated to a low magnesium level. So a lot of times when you're craving chocolate, you just need some magnesium, which is like green leafy vegetables. You can get the same magnesium boost from. So it's interesting in that kind of sense. And then it's the knowledge of making the right choices in food, but it still all goes back to mindset.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
have you ever experienced something where you're like, I it doesn't seem right for me to want this, but I want this, and then later find out that, you know, well, of course, this is why I wanted it.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you just said, like, also congratulations, because I heard that you just pretty much announced you're pregnant. I'm so excited for you.
So you're pregnant?
Yeah.
Yes, so same thing on that
What
same.
did you name your baby?
Oh, she hasn't had a name yet.
I think it's yet. We're kind of sure. Not yet.
But similar situation. Like, I'm typically dairy free. I typically don't eat a lot of cheese products just because of, or milk products, because of it just causes inflammation in my body. I notice if I have too much of it.
Yeah.
But when I get pregnant, I crave it. It's like that was my first sign that I was pregnant. I think in all 3 of my pregnancies, during those first few weeks, I just started craving dairy and cheese like crazy. And I didn't catch it with the first one. And then with the second one, I kind of caught on. And then with the third one, I was like, I think I'm pregnant. I really want to today. And I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, and along those same lines, since we're really diving deep into this listening to your body and pregnancy thing, the first one, obviously, I had never been pregnant before. I didn't know what it felt like. But with the second, the third, and now baby number 4, I am pretty sure I knew just about the moment that it happened. Not like, you know, there in the passion of the moment, but like, you know, a few days or a week later, I was like, wait, I know this feeling. And it is this unmistakable feeling for me. It's always been the same. It's this like full up to my neck, like stuffed like a pigeon, just full feeling. And that's always like my first immediate sign. And I've been able to pick it up now 3 times, a couple of weeks before science can pick it up, which is a little bit nerve-wracking. But just being able to be aware of your body and notice those very subtle changes very quickly. And it comes from being in the right mindset. And I think as well, like, having a fairly clean diet. Now, I happen to hit Froyo House like 3 times this week, so I'm not perfectly clean in my diet, but where I don't have a lot of excess bloating, I don't have a lot of excess gas or indigestion or all those other things that sort of can mask those beginning signs of pregnancy. So when something is different, like, you can pick up on it right away. I read stories in nursing journals about people that have picked up cancers the same way. They're like, I'm sure there's a cancer here. And they go to the doctor, and the doctor says, no, there's nothing there. And then several months down the line, they find out it actually really was there. So it's really, there's so much benefit in being in tune to your body.
That's amazing. That's, yeah, definitely. Curious, you mentioned something about indigestion and about, we were mentioning inflammation, and one of the resources that's included in the Science of Being Well in the preface of the book, preface, I don't even know how to pronounce that. But one of the writings, he wrote an additional document, and I actually pulled that up and was reading some of that today. And I'm wondering what your thoughts are on this, because it talks about how most people actually are overeating, that we actually don't need the amount of food that most people are putting in their bodies, and that in return, in response to the overeating, that many people are experiencing symptoms like indigestion, inflammation, bloatedness, gas, different things like that, because basically their bodies are inflamed. I mean, and constantly inflamed.
Yeah, no, I completely 100% agree with that. And there's lots of science that says, you know, eat 6 or 8 small meals a day and sort of space it out. And whether you come at it from a weight loss perspective or just a general health perspective, there's a lot of weight to that. A lot of different theories revolving around that small little meals. So you're more agile, right? I mean, we can go back to caveman years for this, right? So you have a small little meal, you're able to still run, right? Because you can run from the lion. You're still able to think appropriately. All of your blood hasn't run to your stomach to try to digest this food. So you can problem solve, you can make things happen as they need to on demand. Your digestive tract itself is flowing appropriately, so you can send out that waste as you need, and all those pieces are working appropriately. And that's just simple caveman years, right? You need to be able to nourish your body. You also need to be able to run from the lion when it's coming after you, and you need to be able to be agile and think about your next move. So we take it into today's world, right? Now we eat lunch. By 3 o'clock, we're exhausted. We need to stop at Starbucks for essentially like an ice cream sundae in a cup, which only gets us to barely dinner time. And then we're like dragging to eat dinner, but we've had this huge blood sugar crash. So we gorge on dinner. And then we maybe slide over to the sofa and pass out and go to bed. So we've completely taken the ability to be light and agile out of the equation. Our minds can't think because all the blood is sucked to the belly to try to digest this food. And then very shortly after that, we go to bed. And then when you have all that heavy food sitting in your belly at night, you just can't digest it appropriately. Like when you sleep at night, that's your body's time to completely regenerate itself. If it's spending so much time on digestion, it doesn't have time to regenerate itself. It doesn't have time to fix all the other stuff. And then most of us don't sleep that long either, somewhere between 4 or 5 hours, and that's not really enough. On average, you should probably sleep about 6 to 10 hours, depending on who you are and what your body needs, but at least about 6 hours to get that full regeneration cycle to happen. So yeah, that's my take on that.
That's good. That's amazing. That's pretty much exactly what was going through my mind. So one of the things that it actually talks about as like a cure is it's amazing. It says, eat plain foods, cut out one meal a day, because most people are eating several really large meals. And it also talks about fasting. So here's where I just was so enlightened, because I've been practicing this and I've been noticing the difference really in all areas of my health with this, but I had never really known why or what the benefit, what do we really benefit from that? And what this is saying is that it's actually healthy to take a 36-hour fast once a week for say 4 or 5 months. So this is like somebody that doesn't typically fast, I guess. And it literally says the improvement in feelings and endurance and the change in appetite and taste will prove the matter, will basically bring our bodies back to a level of health. I mean, does that really work? Is that how it works? And
yes. So I have spent a long time teaching. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. So I've spent a long time teaching fasting overnight. Like you have your last meal around like 6:30, and then you don't eat breakfast again at least 12 to 14 hours later. And that gives yourself the time overnight to fast. And so I'm learning about and curious about the benefits of doing it throughout the day or making it like a 2 or 3 day process. So that I'm not well educated on, and I don't know the full benefits of it because, and this is why, because I come from a very active like gym background, that you can't like take several classes a day, or in my case, I can't teach a couple of classes a day and then run around and do my mom stuff and not put anything back into my system. My body just doesn't work that way. And I feel like if you're really in the gym and you're going hard, you have to replenish yourself somehow. So the idea of not eating for 36 hours doesn't jive well in like my framework. But taking that 14 hours between like 6:30 when dinner is over until like 8 o'clock the next morning when I have breakfast, and taking that time for the body to, regenerate itself, have time to heal, and sort of that modified cleanse. Like I've done it for years, and I've taught around that principle. And it's not to say that the other one is wrong. I just don't know enough about it to say yes on it.
Well, your numbers definitely sound more realistic for the average everyday person, again, that is used to eating on a regular basis and probably eating a lot. And you mentioned the improvements in rest and sleep because of having less in your digestion at night. And that was another thing that I actually had just heard as well, that that our bodies get into that next kind of level of rest and sleep. So that's definitely sounds beneficial. And yeah, our energy, we definitely need to keep our energy up. But sleep is one of the also topics that I had noted because of what you said, the regeneration, the renewal. Like, I do notice that when my body is able to rest really well, that I wake up in less pain, and I deal with physical health issues on a regular basis. But even just getting good rest and sleep, I have to admit, definitely helps in a lot of ways. And then you talked about the mindset, and then it definitely goes back, and that's a lot of what this covers too. And what really jumped out to me, even in my own experiences with my health issues, is that as long as for years, I was focusing on them, and that's really all I thought about was how much pain I'm in, what's wrong with me, what my weight was, because I couldn't exercise. Like, I was always thinking of what I didn't want and what my pain was and what what my downside was. And I've noticed, so since I have been pretty much addressing my mindset health, which I never would have even imagined affect my physical health. But it has in so many ways, and so powerful. But one of the things that came to me was, is that going to be able to, like, and I got to get your thoughts on this too, because this book talks a lot about, or it mentioned that some of, what our health is and what our physical body is made of is basically through our ancestors, through our DNA. It gets passed down through, like, basically when we're born, that we're actually born maybe more prone to certain things. I mean, even, being born with health issues, diseases, problems, or, things that aren't necessarily healthy. And how much of that do we really have control over if we're born with this?
So there have actually been a lot of twin studies, and those are the best for the DNA pieces because they have the same DNA, right? So essentially, you're looking at the same person in two different circumstances. So they do these twin studies where they have, so essentially you're taking that variable of different DNA out, but you put them in different environmental situations. And what they found is that, so I have myself and my twin, and we grow up in two different environments. And the one twin has great health, doesn't have, let's say, any real ailments to complain about. The other one, however, has high blood pressure, diabetes, depression, all of these other kind of things, and they all sort of tend to go together, interestingly enough. Usually if you have high blood pressure, you tend to be overweight, have diabetes, and have heart disease. That is your triad for a heart attack, by the way: diabetes, heart disease, and high blood pressure. Anyways, so the other person has that, and you wonder, well, they're kind of the same person, if you will, from a scientific standpoint. Why did this happen? And we have genes that can actually be activated or turned on by certain environmental issues. Some of it is not in our control, like living in a more toxic environment as far as like smog in the air and those kind of things. Some of it is more like a volatile household type environment, but it's enough stress in the body to activate that gene. So yeah, it is really interesting. So to a point, you have some control over it, but not necessarily. The other piece about the control, though, that I think is so powerful, and a lot of times it's brought back into prayer. And so whether you believe in the power of prayer or the idea of talking to the universe or talking to God or whatever you put out, but people have cured themselves from diseases through the power of prayer. I have a friend actually just the other week that was telling me, another friend who was pregnant, their baby had some sort of heart ailment that needed to be like 24 hours after birth, they needed to have surgery, and they were so worried and so concerned, and they had the Hopkins team there to help, and all these things ready to go, and as good as you can get here in America at this time. And they just prayed and they prayed and they prayed, and they believed that this baby was going to be born healthy without this heart problem. And they had lots of doctors review it and sonograms and all this stuff. And they said, no, this baby definitely has this heart problem. So it turned out when the baby was delivered, the baby did not have the heart problem and did not need surgery. So that's incredible. Like, did they will this baby into being healthy? I don't know. There are studies of cancer patients curing their cancer through the power of prayer. I don't know. And there's a lot of stories, if you will, articles that point to the ability to completely change your body through your thoughts.
Yeah, that lights me up. I mean, that's one of the things I love about this book, is that it definitely, okay, please stop, please. It definitely, take it over there and drop. It definitely goes past the physical. I mean, it really gets you thinking, past what we see and what can be explained in words. There is, and I know that there is more. And again, it's something that everybody's kind of belief system, it just depends on what they call it. But the metaphysical, even the spirituality, but the biggest part of that too is the belief. Having the belief that, and that's one of the things that it actually covers in this, is that in this, I think it was chapter 1. I've read chapter 2 now, so I don't know what's in chapter 1 or 2, but it talks about that it doesn't even matter what it is you believe in, whether you believe prayer is going to heal, whether you believe it's medication that's going to heal, whether you believe, it doesn't matter what the specific tool is, but that if you have the belief that it can happen, it actually talked about a story, and this really was so interesting, that that many years ago, there was these people that were using the bones of a deceased healer, and people were coming to the temple to be healed of their sicknesses by touching these bones. And you probably read this too. And that the bones got stolen. And they were like, oh no, what are we going to do? So they got other bones, turned out to be the bones of a murderer. But the people were still getting healed through touching these bones. And, it really makes you think a lot about the fact that even just having that belief that it can happen in such a strong and powerful way, not doubting, and just totally just putting everything you have into it, just miraculous. I mean, I do see that. I mean, even the stories of, Jesus in what the miracles that he was able to do. And, today, I mean, if you are a believer listening to this, the same, spirit that was in Jesus is what is within us, is what the Bible teaches. And I mean, that would mean that we can do really anything that we truly believe is possible. I mean, it's amazing to me. One of the statements that I wrote down that just keeps coming to me over this last week that I've been reading all this is that our natural state is one of absolute well-being. That as humans, we're born for the purpose of being well. And that, because of distractions, I guess, and the fact that we do tend to concentrate on what is not well. As soon as we feel something that's not quite right, we go to the doctor. And then I feel like that just starts almost a downhill slide, because then you start to worry, and then you start to fear, and then they start to bring all of these other things that might be, based on your symptoms. And, how do we know, and this is just something that I've been thinking recently, especially with my kids, how do you decide when you're going to go to the doctor or when you're just going to try to treat symptoms or, imbalances at home?
A good one. That is really tricky. And I feel like you just have to have self-awareness. You have to know yourself. You have to know when this is too much for you to take care of. You have to know your kids too, and know, is this something that, is out of character for them? Is it something that just doesn't seem right? It's really just, it's being aware. It's just being aware. And if you're not sure, and we live in 2018, right? We have the ability to go to the doctor on demand. There's urgent cares everywhere. My doctor's office does e-visits. So literally I send my doctor, I fill out like a little algorithm and then send her an attached email, and I've had a visit with her. So as far as like, if you're not sure, ask. That's I think the big thing too, is if you don't know something, don't be afraid to ask, because somebody probably knows the answer to it, or can at least point you in the right direction. Nobody knows everything, but there's always resources to help. But I did want to go back to something that you said in the mindset piece. And so mindset is huge. You have to set your mind, right? And make good decisions. Like we were talking about, eating well, not taking in a bunch of caffeine, not stopping at Starbucks for a liquid sundae every morning, no, and the alcohol thing, in moderation, smoking, all those kind of things that we already know aren't really good for you. But the other piece of that is action, right? Because if you sit on the sofa every day and think, I'm going to be healthy, like you're not necessarily going to be healthy. You do still have to put what you think about into action. If you think, if you struggle with depression and you set your mind to, I'm going to be positive and I'm going to be happy, then you have to go out into that world and be happy. Say hello to someone on the street. Smile at someone that you would otherwise scowl at. Hold the door for someone. Put yourself maybe in a little bit of an uncomfortable situation. Maybe you ride the elevator with people when you would normally take the steps. Like something, where you still are doing that action. And still, I remember a Sunday school lesson years ago with the farmer who was out there and like tilling the fields and doing all the work. And I think his brother was like sitting back drinking wine, and he's like, why are you working so hard? And he's like, one day I'll reap the harvest. And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever, the plants grow. And so the farmer did all the work in his field, and he does all the stuff, and this harvest comes, and he has this amazing harvest, and the brother, who just sort of, did the run-of-the-mill thing, kind of got a few pieces of food, but not enough to sustain them for winter. And so the parable lesson there is, put in the work on the forefront, prime the field, plant the seed, nurture it, and then reap the bounty later. And so the same thing applies here. And as I was reading chapter 2 last night, that's where I really got stuck on this. Like, and I love it, not stuck in a bad way, but like in this like thought processes that like, yes, you can think about what you want to do. You can start thinking about how you're going to apply those principles and what you're going to do to make that change. But then you've got to get out there, put on your big boy pants and do it. So yeah, that I think is the huge point in chapter 2.
Yeah, that's actually really good. And I also heard you, it pretty much means too that you just start where you are. You don't have to like jump to this level of doing something outside of where you already are. Like if you're going out of the house and if you're going to your appointments, giving happiness and joy and claiming it for yourself at the same time while you're giving it, that's beautiful. That's actually beautiful. And it's something, it's an action we can all do no matter what situation we're in. I mean, whatever we're doing, wherever we are. I mean, even if we're bedridden, I mean, these days with social media, with technology, we can still be a giver and give a smile to somebody, even if it's electronically. And that's where I think that the technology and everything that we have access to today in every field, I mean, in everything, really can work for us. And we can really take advantage of so much. thinking perfect health and then taking action in the road to achieving that is just, it's beautiful. I think many, and, I've gone through this, feel that there's so many limits, or feel like we are stuck, or we have issues that are holding us back. But when I decided to really just focus on my strengths and start where I'm at,
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Where's Tug?
Oh, Tug is downstairs playing. They're almost finished the studio. So they're yay!
Uncle, your house.
You want to come? We'll figure something out, bud. We'll figure it out.
So yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and the area of mindset and of thinking and putting things into action. One of the things I mentioned on my live that I did in Journey to Freedom was being open to doing something new, and keeping your mind open to learning new ways of health and wellness. And particularly, because this sounds like it really, really does go back to knowing your body, your health and wellness, being able to feel and be aware and recognize, when we're achieving imbalances in our own bodies. And I know that a couple of the things, one of the things that's really helped me has been meditation. But I know that I've been seeing, what I've been reading, that that yoga is actually where that goes back to. You want to go eat? You want to go eat with Tanta? Go eat with Tanta. Sorry, just a second.
Yeah, no.
It's okay. I'm recording, so it's not. It's okay. It's good. And that can act, and that that has helped. And I wasn't open to that before. I wasn't familiar with it, so I never had been open to doing that. And since I have, though, and that's where it's just a testimony that just being open to something that you just don't even know anything about can often be an answer. But do you agree that if someone is, watching this and looking to increase their self-awareness and increase that, bless you, that, ability to hear their own body, what they need, what they don't need, and that, what could be, some of the things that they could do to find that self-awareness?
Right. I think it's taking time with yourself. And so some people, like you said, like to do meditation and just having a quiet place to sit, or, time to listen to themselves breathe and connect. I actually like to do it running. I love to just go for a good long run. And I'll start to listen to the sound of my feet hitting the pavement, and you start to get into a rhythm, and then your breath will connect with it. And then once you kind of let that body piece go, then the mind will start to work. And for me, running has always been very holistically healing in that way. And it's just and I like to run outside. I don't really run inside. And so you start to connect with nature. And I think there was a piece in the book as well about connecting with nature. Like, I never wear shoes, ever, outside to like go somewhere. But otherwise, if we're around the house or even outside in the yard, or taking the dog for a walk, I don't wear shoes. And it's that connection to the earth around you, listening to the sound of my feet hitting the pavement, the breath with the wind. So that's a really good way to do it. Maybe it's a yoga class. Maybe it's, my husband likes to go to the gym and just lift heavy things and just lift, which I don't totally understand all that much, but it's totally his gang, and he loves it. And it gives him that same release, that same time to, you have to figure out, I think the key to it is figuring out how to let the body go so that the mind is free. And so, for example, in yoga class, we spend time at the beginning of class and at the end of class just breathing, so that the only focus is on the breath. And what you do is you end up releasing into that parasympathetic nervous system, and that starts to take over. And that's all your calming stuff. It's just calm and relaxed, and it helps you to aid in digestion and release toxins and release a whole bunch of happy hormones. And so the body really is in a relaxed state. And it's at that point where you can really start to connect with mind.
That is good. That just sounds so beautiful. Just the calming, the relax. I actually just posted something about that. I was just so inspired by people that are, wanting to get healthy, getting on a health journey, and how so many of them focus on being more active. But there are some people like me that have physical issues that prevent, at this point, I can't just go outside and take a run, but that even just relaxing and finding that connection with myself. You mentioned nature, getting out of nature. That was a big thing that actually came to me through this too. In being balanced and in achieving wellness is connecting with nature. And I couldn't really figure out what the reason behind it was, but I know that when I'm out, and especially in the summer when it's warm, when I can go out barefoot and not have shoes on, you're actually connecting with the earth. How that does bring so much just comfort and peace and wellness to me. It's so beautiful. I love that. And it's something everybody can do. It's not difficult. It's a simple thing that anybody that wants to start increasing their self-wellness awareness, that's beautiful. So beautiful.
It's right here. Like right here today. Like you don't have to purchase anything. You don't have to recreate your life. You don't really have to. I mean, you're changing things, but you don't really have to change anything to be able to do it. Does that make sense? Like it really is just right here, right now.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Starting where you are. Yeah. Not, waiting for something or waiting to be able to do something, just starting right now where you are. That's amazing. So we talked about, I had made a post of just different things. And so I had done a little research and I had found the National Wellness Institute. And I just loved all of their content and what they talked about. And much of what we covered is actually a lot of what they had talked about as far as the physical dimension. And I think that was just a perfect place to start and kind of fall into for today, because that's where many people are looking for help. So we talked about regular movement, nutritional habits, connecting with nature, self-care. That's another thing too, that, having a regular routine of taking care of ourselves and our bodies, like exfoliating our skin, staying clean. My kids, I'm in an area of life right now where I'm teaching them into regular self-care habits. Like, hopefully they'll love to take baths and showers at one point, but it's a struggle right now getting them into the bath a few days a week at least. And my husband,
you know what? The other piece of that.
But yes. So teaching our kids what we're doing and what we're learning has been really one of the biggest blessings in my life right now, and the inspiration really to bring this up and to do this, because as I learn and then as I share with others, I find it just kind of falls naturally, sharing with my own kids at home. And Jackson's got to say hi. All right.
Hi, buddy.
Hi. And they're actually a really neat example of a lot of ways that we can connect with ourselves and with just being so playful, watching them play. And that's one of the things that I have found able to, work on my physical wellness is just playing with them. Just getting on the ground or getting outside or getting on the playground with them and actually being involved in play is just so healing and has really brought a lot of health, I feel, back into my life too, since having kids. It's such a blessing.
That's beautiful. And that brings that other piece that you wanted to talk about as well, the vitality and the energy. And so the more that you feed the energy, things like getting down and playing with your kids, the physical piece of fueling your body well, the mental piece of the meditation or the mind-body connection, the more that you feed that energy, the more energy you're going to have. And then the more vitality and drive for life you're going to have. So it's a beautiful cyclic effect. And I'm so glad you're finding this. This is so beautiful.
Thank you. Yes. And it's such a beautiful journey. And I'm just so grateful to be sharing. We're going to turn this down. Hold on. To be sharing here with everyone too. And thank you so much for being available and being here with us. I'm looking at the time. I guess we can probably, do you have anything else that you want to share, or any recommendations, or if you had to give a closing note, what would you give us?
A closing note. Oh my goodness. I really feel like as you read through the book, or if you look at the NWI's wellness focus with the 6 dimensions of well-being, I think if you take all of those pieces and if you get nothing else from it, it's the mind-body connection. So figuring out a way to calm the mind enough that it can connect to the body, and then let the magic happen and be willing to let it happen. The rest just sort of starts to fall into place, and then you'll know what to do, and you'll have the desire and the drive to get up and do it. We talked about before we came on, Rita and I were talking about, I was at Whole Foods this morning and I found this plate, and I want to print this quote and like put it all over my house. So the plate had this quote that said, "Just when the caterpillar thought the world was over, it became a butterfly." And my friends, that is huge, right? So when one door closes, another opens, and it may be even better than the last. And so as you make it through your health and wellness journey, it's not going to be easy. It's not. You're going to hit roadblocks. You're going to think, this shit's crazy. It's not for me. What am I doing? And just realize that it's okay, because the caterpillar turned into a butterfly, right? There's always another door, and there's always a reason why this one ended and the next one begins. And being open and free to that, and not get discouraged, I think, is a big piece.
That is beautiful. Wow, what a beautiful visual to leave with. I just imagined the caterpillar. Okay, you can't hear it. You can't hear a show. The caterpillar, the butterfly, lightly, easily flying away. Oh, look! Awesome.
I'm like mildly obsessed with butterflies. I sort of have them strategically placed everywhere, tattooed on me, all sorts of stuff. So, but yeah, the butterfly.
I love that. Yeah, it's always been a big symbol in my own life and in my own journey of life. Just realizing that we have that ability to be a new creation, and to take action, and to not stay stuck, in whatever it is. And for everybody, everybody's different. Everyone's on a different journey. But that's one thing that I do know is we're all on a journey. And the beautiful thing that I've come to realize, it has given me so much wellness, increased wellness, is just realizing and acknowledging that it is about the journey, and that there is no destination to fight for or push for, or desire so bad that you lose sight of where you are right now, and the beauty that you are right now. And if you're listening to this later, we just want to say thank you for being on, and for being open to new dimensions in your journey, and new insight. And, if you have questions, you are welcome to, you can post comments below this video. I'll have this posted there in Freedom Mastery, or you can always send a private message to Kris or I, the Kris Wood, on Facebook, and she is in the group too, or me. And we can help. And if we don't have the answers, nobody has all the answers, we can certainly direct you to somebody that does. So thank you, Kris, so much for your time. I know your time is valuable. Thank you so much. I love you so much. Literally, my soul sister, I feel like. We've definitely connected in such a way. I love you.
Rita, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. It's amazing. It's been such a great journey thus far. I can't wait to see where it goes. And for you guys, this is for you. So use it for all it's worth. Ask questions, go over it, make it work for you.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, happy Sunday.
Bye.
And I'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.